At the family reunion, my stepmother told everyone that my real mom abandoned me and that she was the only mother I ever had. So I stayed silent, then invited my biological mom to the next reunion. She arrived with documents, photos, and years of proof that my stepmother had been lying and manipulating me the entire time. My stepmother Claire just learned the hard way that lies have a way of catching up with you, especially when you tell them at family reunions where everyone can witness the fallout. Last month, she tried to rewrite history in front of 40 relatives and ended up getting exposed in the most spectacular way possible. Been dealing with Claire's manipulation for about 12 years now. She married my dad when I was 16, 2 years after my parents' messy divorce. My biological mom, Jennifer, had moved to California after the divorce for a fresh start, and the custody arrangement meant I stayed with Dad to finish high school. Claire always resented that I had another mother. From day one, she tried to erase Jennifer from my life, made comments about Jennifer being unstable, suggested I was better off without her influence, and gradually created an atmosphere where talking about Jennifer became uncomfortable. The family reunion happens every August at my great-uncle's ranch in Texas. Big event with aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, the whole extended family circus. This year, about 40 people showed up for 3 days of barbecue and catching up. Saturday evening, everyone was sitting around the fire pit sharing stories and updating each other on life. My cousin Emma mentioned that her daughter had been asking about family history for a school project. She wants to interview different family members about their experiences. Emma said, "Maybe you could tell her about being a step-parent, Claire. That's got to be interesting." Perfect opening for Claire to start her performance. "Oh, it's been such a journey," Claire said, putting on her martyred mother voice. "When I married David, poor Jason was just so lost. His real mom had abandoned him, moved away without a second thought. I became the only mother he'd ever really known." The family nodded sympathetically. Most of them had only heard Claire's version of events over the years since Jennifer lived so far away and rarely visited. "It was heartbreaking," Claire continued, really getting into it now. "A 16-year-old whose mother just left him behind to start over in California. But I stepped up because that's what you do for family. I've been his real mom ever since." My dad was nodding along like this was gospel truth. Either he'd convinced himself Claire's version was accurate or he just didn't want to rock the boat. Probably both. "Jason's been so lucky to have you," my Aunt Susan said. "Not every woman would take on someone else's teenager like that." Well, when his birth mother made it clear she didn't want him anymore, someone had to fill that role. Claire replied, "I've never treated him any differently than my own children." This was rich considering Claire spent most of my late teens making it obvious I was the outsider in her perfect family. But she was playing to an audience now. I sat there listening to this fiction, watching my extended family eat up every word. Claire had been telling this story for so long she probably believed it herself. The abandoned child narrative made her look like a saint while painting Jennifer as a selfish mother who chose her own fresh start over her son. Here's what really happened. Jennifer didn't abandon me. She moved to California because staying in the same town as my dad and his new wife was emotionally devastating. The divorce had been brutal and Jennifer needed space to rebuild her life. We were supposed to maintain our relationship through visits and regular communication. But Claire made sure that became increasingly difficult. Jennifer would call and Claire would say I was busy or out with friends. When Jennifer planned visits, Claire would schedule family events I couldn't miss. When I wanted to visit Jennifer in California, Claire would find reasons why it wasn't a good time. Over the years, the communication became less frequent, the visits stopped happening, and Jennifer and I grew apart. Not because Jennifer abandoned me, but because Claire systematically sabotaged our relationship while making it seem like Jennifer wasn't trying hard enough. Saturday night at the reunion, listening to Claire perform her greatest hits for a captive audience, I decided it was time for some truth. Update 1. Reconnecting. Sunday morning after the reunion, I drove home and started looking for Jennifer. We'd lost touch about 3 years ago when communication just gradually faded away under Claire's constant interference. Social media made finding people easier these days. Found Jennifer's Facebook profile within 20 minutes. She was living in San Diego, looked healthy and happy, had pictures with friends and coworkers, posted occasionally about hiking and gardening and books she was reading. Sent her a friend request with a simple message. Hi Jennifer, it's Jason. I know it's been a long time, but I'd like to reconnect if you're open to it. She accepted the request within an hour and sent back a message that broke my heart. Jason, I can't believe you reached out. I've missed you so much. I tried to stay in contact for years, but it got harder and harder. Your stepmother said you were busy with your new life and didn't really want to hear from me as much. Called her that evening and we talked for 3 hours. Jennifer explained how our relationship had slowly been undermined over the years. Every time I called, Claire would answer and say you were busy or couldn't talk right then. She'd promised to have you call back, but you rarely did. Claire never told me you called most of the time, and when I suggested visits, there was always some family obligation or school event that made it impossible. Claire scheduled those deliberately to conflict with your visits. I started to feel like I was being intrusive, like maybe you really were better off with your new family and I was just making things complicated by trying to stay involved. Jennifer had been manipulated just as much as I had. Claire had convinced her that I didn't want contact while telling me that Jennifer wasn't really trying to maintain our relationship. Jennifer, Claire told everyone at our family reunion yesterday that you abandoned me, that you moved to California and never looked back, that she's been my only real mother. That's not true. I never stopped loving you or wanting you in my life. I just thought you'd moved on. I never moved on. I missed you constantly, but Claire made it seem like you were the one pulling away. Jason, I kept every email you ever sent me, every photo from your visits, all the documentation of my attempts to stay involved in your life. I couldn't bear to delete any of it. Documentation. Jennifer had been keeping records of Claire's interference without even realizing it. Jennifer, next year's family reunion is in August. Would you like to come as my guest and set the record straight? Update 2. Gathering evidence. Over the next few months, Jennifer and I rebuilt our relationship through phone calls, video chats, and eventually visits. She flew out to see me in October, and we spent a weekend going through everything she'd saved. Jennifer was naturally organized and had kept detailed records of her attempts to maintain our relationship. Email threads showing Claire's responses to visit requests, screenshots of text conversations where Claire discouraged Jennifer from calling, photos from the few visits that did happen with timestamps showing how infrequent they became. Look at this, Jennifer said, showing me her phone records. I called your house every weekend for 2 years. See how the call duration gets shorter and shorter? That's because Claire would answer and say you weren't available. The pattern was clear in the data. Jennifer had started calling regularly after the divorce, but the conversations became briefer and less frequent over time until they stopped altogether. Jennifer also had saved all our email exchanges from when I was in college. The threads showed how Claire would insert herself into our communications, often responding to Jennifer's emails to me with explanations about why I couldn't respond personally. Here's one where you invited me to your college graduation. Jennifer showed me. Claire replied, saying you decided you wanted a small ceremony with just immediate family. I thought you didn't want me there. I never said that. I wanted you at my graduation, but Claire told me you weren't able to make the trip. Jennifer had documentation of every attempt she'd made to stay involved in my life and every excuse Claire had given for why it wouldn't work. The evidence painted a clear picture of systematic interference designed to gradually push Jennifer out of my life. Why did you keep all of this? I asked. Because I knew something wasn't right. The Jason I raised wouldn't just cut me out of his life without explanation. I kept everything hoping that someday I could show you I never stopped trying. Jennifer had also saved screenshots of social media posts where Claire painted herself as my primary mother figure, often accompanied by comments about how difficult it was to raise someone else's child when the birth mother wasn't involved. She's been building this narrative for years, Jennifer said, making herself look like a saint while erasing me from your history. Jennifer, I want you to bring all of this to the family reunion. Every email, every text, every piece of evidence. I think it's time my family heard the real story. Update 3. Planning the revelation. Spent the next few months preparing for the reunion confrontation. Jennifer was nervous about facing my dad and Claire after so many years of being painted as the villain, but she was determined to set the record straight. We organized her evidence chronologically to tell a clear story. Early emails and photos showing active involvement in my life after the divorce. Middle period documentation showing Claire's interference becoming more systematic. Recent years showing how communication was gradually eliminated entirely. The evidence was damning because it was so detailed. Jennifer had timestamps, screenshots, and documentation spanning 12 years. Not just her word against Claire's, but actual proof of manipulation. First step was making sure Jennifer felt comfortable attending. We practiced how she'd present the evidence and prepared responses to likely questions from family members. Second step was preparing the family. Sent messages to a few key relatives, mentioning that I was bringing a special guest to this year's reunion. Someone they hadn't seen in a long time, who had an interesting perspective on family relationships. My cousin Emma was particularly excited. Oh good. I hope it's someone with stories about how families stay connected across distances. That would be really relevant for Mom's genealogy project. Perfect setup. Everyone would be expecting stories about family connections. They just wouldn't be expecting the kind of story Jennifer was planning to tell. Update 4. The reunion. August rolled around and we drove to the ranch together. Jennifer was nervous but determined. She'd brought her laptop and organized folders of printed evidence. 12 years of documentation showing exactly how Claire had sabotaged our relationship. Arrived Saturday morning to the usual chaos of family reunion setup. Kids running around, adults arranging tables, everyone catching up on the past year. Claire was in her element, directing food preparation and playing hostess. Jason, you didn't tell me you were bringing someone, Claire said when she saw Jennifer get out of the car. Her face went white when she recognized who it was. This is Jennifer, I said casually. I thought it would be nice for her to meet everyone properly this time. Claire's face went through several expressions as she tried to figure out what was happening and what I might know. Jennifer, my dad said, walking over. What a surprise. How are you doing? I'm doing well, David. Jason invited me to come and reconnect with his family. It's been too long. The day proceeded normally with Jennifer getting reintroduced to relatives as my guest. Most people were polite but confused about why she was there after Claire had spent years telling them Jennifer wasn't involved in my life. Saturday evening, we gathered around the fire pit for the traditional story sharing. Perfect opportunity for Jennifer to share her perspective. Emma, you mentioned wanting stories about family connections, I said. Jennifer has some interesting insights about maintaining relationships across distances. Oh, wonderful, Emma replied. What kind of insights? Jennifer opened her laptop and pulled up the first folder of evidence. Well, I have 12 years of documentation showing what it looks like when someone tries to maintain a relationship with their child despite systematic interference. The fire pit went completely silent. Update 5, the truth revealed. Jennifer started showing the piece by piece. Email threads, text screenshots, phone records, social media posts, a comprehensive timeline of Claire's interference in our relationship. This is from 2015, Jennifer said, showing an email thread. I asked about visiting Jason for his birthday. Claire responded that he was too busy with school and work but suggested maybe Christmas instead. She scrolled to the next email. Then at Christmas, Claire said Jason had made plans with friends and wouldn't be available. This pattern continued for years. My Aunt Susan was staring at the screen. Jennifer, you were trying to visit Jason regularly? Every holiday, every birthday, every summer break. There was always a reason why it wouldn't work. Jennifer showed them her phone records, demonstrating regular attempts to call that gradually became less frequent as Claire made it clear the calls weren't welcome. I kept trying because I loved my son, but I started to feel like I was being intrusive. Claire made it seem like Jason was moving on with his new family and my involvement was unwelcome. Claire had gone completely pale and was staring at the evidence like it might disappear if she concentrated hard enough. Jennifer pulled up screenshots of social media posts where Claire portrayed herself as Jason's primary mother while making comments about uninvolved birth parents. This post is from last year, Jennifer said, showing Claire's Facebook. Quote, so proud of Jason's achievements. It's been rewarding raising him without interference from people who chose to prioritize their own lives. End quote. The family was starting to understand what had happened. 40 people watching Claire's narrative crumble as Jennifer presented year after year of evidence. Claire, my dad said slowly, you told me Jennifer wasn't interested in staying involved in Jason's life. I was protecting our family from disruption, Claire said desperately. Jennifer was trying to interfere with Jason's adjustment to our new family dynamic. By wanting to visit on holidays and birthdays, my grandmother asked. Jennifer showed them email exchanges where she'd asked attending my high school graduation, college graduation, and other major milestones. Each request met with explanations about why it wouldn't be appropriate or convenient. I missed years of my son's life because I was told he didn't want me there, Jennifer said. Meanwhile, Claire was telling everyone I'd abandoned him and didn't care about his achievements. My cousin Mark was looking at the evidence with obvious anger. Claire, you've been lying to us about Jennifer for over a decade. I never lied. I just managed a difficult situation in the best way I knew how. By preventing a mother from seeing her son? By protecting Jason from confusion and conflicting loyalties. Jennifer pulled up her final piece of evidence, a folder of photos from the few visits that had happened, showing clearly how much I'd enjoyed seeing her and how natural our relationship was when Claire wasn't interfering. Jason was never confused about having two mothers who loved him, Jennifer said. Someone else decided that was too complicated and systematically eliminated me from his life while rewriting history to make herself look like a saint. Final update: the rest of the reunion was incredibly uncomfortable for Claire. Word spread quickly through the family about what Jennifer had revealed. People started remembering all the times Claire had talked about my uninvolved birth mother and realizing they'd been fed lies for years. My dad pulled me aside Sunday morning looking devastated. Jason, I had no idea Claire was actively preventing Jennifer from staying involved in your life. I thought Jennifer really had decided to step back. Did you ever verify that with Jennifer directly? No. I trusted Claire when she said Jennifer was pulling away and didn't want to disrupt Jason's new family situation. Dad, Jennifer never stopped wanting to be part of my life. Claire systematically pushed her out while convincing everyone Jennifer didn't care. I'm going to have to seriously reconsider what this means for my marriage. Claire spent Sunday packing her things and avoiding eye contact with everyone. She'd gone from family saint to exposed manipulator in the span of one evening. Jennifer and I spent the rest of the reunion reconnecting with my extended family properly. They were fascinated by her stories and mortified that they believed Claire's lies without ever trying to verify them with Jennifer directly. My grandmother pulled Jennifer aside Sunday afternoon. Honey, I am so sorry we accepted those lies about you. You should have been part of this family all along. It's not your fault, Jennifer replied. You believed what you were told by people you trusted. Claire and my dad left the reunion early Sunday, citing a family emergency. Everyone knew it was because Claire couldn't face the family after being exposed as a systematic liar and manipulator. It's been 6 months since the reunion revelation and the consequences are still unfolding. My dad filed for divorce in October after discovering that Claire's manipulation extended beyond just my relationship with Jennifer. Claire tried to contact me a few times wanting to explain her perspective, but there's really nothing to explain. She deliberately sabotaged my relationship with my biological mother for 12 years while painting herself as my savior and Jennifer as an uncaring parent. Jennifer and I are making up for lost time. She comes to visit regularly and we've planned trips to California so I can see her life there and meet her friends. We're building the relationship we should have maintained all along. The extended family has embraced Jennifer completely. She's invited to all family events now and several relatives have apologized for believing Claire's lies without ever trying to contact Jennifer directly to hear her side. My dad is doing better too. He's admitted that he should have maintained independent contact with Jennifer rather than Claire manage all communication. His guilt about enabling Claire's manipulation has motivated him to rebuild his own relationship with Jennifer based on mutual respect. Claire lost everything because she couldn't tolerate sharing the role of mother with someone else. Her need to be seen as my only real parent led her to systematically destroy evidence of Jennifer's love and create a false narrative that eventually collapsed when confronted with documented proof. 12 years of emails, texts, and records became 12 years of evidence that exposed Claire's manipulation and restored the relationship she'd worked so hard to eliminate. Technology preserved the truth even when people were determined to bury it.